This is going to be a very basic presentation because there are so many tools out there. We could do 1 hour on each of the pages you're about to see. The smartphone is a must-have travel tool if you're traveling. You're going to be relying totally on that for the most part. So the first thing you want to do is, how do you find the best travel deal, right? You have websites and apps that you can compare prices. So we're going to go over some of those. Some tips for booking hotels at the best rates, alerts and notifications for price drops. And so first of all, we have Google Flights. Google Flights to me has been one of the absolute best tools that I have come across. I use it all the time. So what it does is it's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. Its map view is really great for exploring all these destinations. And what I love about Google Flights is getting the emails that say, okay, this is the flight that I'm monitoring, and the flight, they send me an email and they say, oh, today the flight is gone up. Today the flight has gone down. And you can make an informed decision on when you want to buy your flights. Skyscanner is very similar to that, as is Hopper. So these compare prices from airlines. So let's say that you wanted to go from Los Angeles to Denver, and you would go in to any of these 3 apps and you would put those flights in. Not only can you give it the dates you might want, but you also can narrow down to say, I would like to travel in this month. Send me some deals for the month. A lot of times, and I'm going to go a little bit, take a little side turn for a moment. One thing about flights, I just heard this, that a lot of people are saying, well, you used to go online Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those were the cheapest flights that you could find on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I found out that that is not really the case anymore. The changes are about just a percent or so different. Hopper has price freeze, which is an option to lock in a price for a certain amount of time. Hopper also has flash sales and deals. Now, this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is that you should go book direct with your carrier. So whatever airline you're going to choose. Google Flights, you don't book through Google Flights. When you want to buy the flight, you actually will go to the website for the carrier. I also have the carriers I use. I have their apps on my phone as well. Booking directly with the carrier gives you the most flexibility. Okay, that gives you, if there's a change, a cancellation, you don't have to go work through a third party in order to get your flight corrected or changed. Hotels. Let's talk a little bit about hotels. This is another area where there are many more apps than what I'm showing you on the screen. Priceline, Hotel Tonight, Booking.com, Hotels.com. My personal thing for me on these are, I actually like to use these as research. I will research things based on these particular apps. I will find out, I will read reviews. I will read, see the pictures. A lot of times guests will post pictures and reviews of different hotels. I find that to be one of the best features of these apps. That's again, my personal opinion. I recently did, and I'll talk about Expedia in a moment, but I recently did use Expedia to book a hotel. It's probably the first time I used a third-party booker since I was working in the corporate world and traveling for business. And I have to say, it was a great experience. I have heard mixed reviews on some of these other apps. I do think, though, if you were on the road and you needed to stop, Hotel Tonight where you can find some last minute deals. I think Hotel Tonight is probably a really good one. Or if you're close to booking your travel dates. But these are all similar tools. And again, it's more about your preferences. So, my suggestion is go check these out if you're not using them now. See which one is the most comfortable for you to navigate. Some tools work better on mobile phones than others. These are some of the biggest apps out there, so they have a tendency to have fairly good user-friendly tools, and they're constantly updating them to make them more user-friendly for all of us. Because let's face it, when you're on your little tiny phone and you're trying to read, I have my print set pretty darn big and not everything always shows up. So I like an app that has a lot of user-friendly capability, particularly as I'm doing this. Um, Overall travel searching. Well, I can't, if you have a Costco membership, and I can't address the other big box club because I don't use that one, but Costco Travel, they don't have an app. This is simply a website, but this is a wonderful way to get good travel deals. And I recently used them to book a rental car. And again, I was very pleased. Everything was very easy to do. I just mentioned Expedia. Expedia often has bundle deals. They also have something called One Key where you get money back. So I book through Expedia in Quebec, and I have like $8 in my account that I can put towards if I use them again to book any hotel and I can use this cash. So it's kind of great because to me, that's like having the points, point values. And again, Expedia is highly rated. They're very trustworthy. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, Travelzoo, I get their emails just about every day with their specials. I can honestly tell you that I have not used them to buy anything, but I do look at their deals and they do have some really good deals. I have a friend though, she did buy a trip to Iceland and she used Travelzoo and everything was perfectly fine. Nothing, no problems, no nothing. So I'm not saying I put them up here because I think that's a viable option for you to look for hotels and overall travel searching. And then Kayak. Kayak is what's called a meta search engine. It combs through the internet, all the little places out there in cyberspace to compare prices from different travel sites. So it's more of an aggregate. It's an aggregator. So it will give you a lot of information. And just like I talked about back on Google Flights, Kayak will send you emails and updates as they find deals, and you set your parameters. So all of these apps that I've been talking about so far, they're all based on you going in, putting the search that you want to do. Where do you want to go? Do you need a hotel? Do you need a hotel or a airplane? Do you need a train? Do you need any of these things? And they will find you the best deals. But you've got to take the time to set up the search it yourself, because it can't read your mind yet. And I'm going to say that with a chuckle, but not really, because AI can just about read your mind. So when you're doing these things, these are the things that you should consider. Be flexible with your travel dates these are to get the best deals. Consider alternative airports or destinations. For me, I live in Central California, and I do have a lot of airports within a 2 to 3 hour drive from me. And it turned out for me personally, I went on Hawaiian Air because out of Sacramento, which was a 2.5 hour drive, but it was a direct flight to the island I wanted to go to. So that 2.5 hour drive saved me about 7 hours of connections. So if that's something that that's important to you, then consider those alternative airports. Or if there's somewhere near where you're going and maybe you're going to rent a car and you can go and drive there. And of course, sign up for the email alerts, as I just mentioned, because that's something that will alert you at any time. Now, I want to talk about what's called incognito mode. When you use a browser, whether it's Google, Safari, all of the other ones, DuckDuckGo, all these different browsers, there is what's called incognito mode, which means that technically, if you click into that, your IP address and your information is private. Supposedly that if you're looking at, let's say you're on one of these apps and you're looking for a flight and you go back into the app multiple times and it remembers that you've been looking at that flight and suddenly the prices have changed. The theory is that using incognito mode will trick it to think that you're new and give you a better price. I don't know that that's true. I've tried it myself. I don't see it, but I do suggest that if you are looking at prices, that you do clear your browser history. And this is more relevant to your if you're using a laptop versus a smartphone. Although there are ways on the smartphone, that's not part of today's presentation, to clear your browsing history. But my recommendation is if you clear out your browsing history thoroughly, that's similar to incognito mode. And the other thing is that when you're not in incognito mode, you have your logins and your passwords. Whereas if you're in incognito mode and you'd want to go purchase something, you'd have to go and get your password, get your email address. So I kind of take incognito mode with a grain of salt, whether I use it or not. But I did want to mention it because you're welcome to try the theory out. And I always suggest that people try things anyway. And then compare the prices across multiple apps to see if you're getting similar deals. I've noticed that like on certain hotels that there are different prices. And going back, I talked a little bit about Google Flights. And when I talked about on the previous page, I talked about overall travel. I also want to talk about Google in the sense that Google will also give you all the different hotels and all the different prices. And you can, so they're almost acting like an Expedia or one of those as well. So there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of possibility. You just with what we've talked about so far, it's overwhelming. As I mentioned, find something that you like, find something that you find easy to use and to navigate, and that's probably still going to get you the best deal. You don't necessarily have to go through multiple apps to do it. So let's talk about creating the perfect travel itinerary. Well, that's an interesting thing because there's a lot of options now. AI has changed this playing field. You can make digital itinerary planners and use organizational tools in app form. You can sync your schedules across your devices. So if you have an iPad or a tablet, a phone, you can sync them. And then the AI-powered tools for personalized recommendations. Well, there are so many. ChatGPT, all of those things. My thing about AI is use it for good, not evil. It's not going away. It's getting better every day. And I actually use AI for other reasons and for research and all kinds of things just about every day. So for me, I'm not afraid of it. I know a lot of people, particularly some older adults, have mentioned to me, because I teach older adults technology, And they talk to me about how they're afraid of it. And I feel like if you just understand it and you educate yourself, there is no need to be fearful. So let's talk about some of the itinerary building. You've got TripIt. For me, there's a free version. I used to use TripIt for work travel all the time. I started using it again recently for my own personal travel, and I really do like it. I think the free version is perfectly robust. TripIt will keep track of it works off of your emails. So if you book a hotel and you get an email confirmation and you have TripIt and you've connected your email address in your TripIt app, it will extract that email and it'll put it into your itinerary. The same for your car rentals, the same for if you use something like a Viator or Get Your Guide to go on an excursion and you get email confirmation. All of that will self-load into TripIt. And once it's in TripIt, you have the ability to go in and also modify it and call your trip a certain name or whatever. You can also manually add things to TripIt. So if for some reason you didn't get an email and it didn't find something, you can add that information in. Um, During the holidays, TripIt had an annual premium version for about 20, I think about $25. Um, that one will actually send you like flight change notifications and a lot of different things. So, but again, the free version is a solid choice. Uh, I really like TripIt. Another one is called Wanderlog, and Wanderlog is similar. It allows you to build your own itinerary, and it has, you can put in, restaurants, attractions, any of the things that you might want to put into it. For road trip planning. So if you're not looking at that, Road Trippers is a cool app because it allows you to create a road trip from point A to B to C to D and scenic routes, any attractions, any hidden gems along the way. I am going to put Road Tripper myself to the test soon because I'm going to build a national park driving trip going to like Zion and Bryce and those places. So I'm actually downloaded Road Tripper and I've started to play with it and I'm going to build a trip off of it. But for those of you who love getting in the car and going somewhere, this or have an RV, this is a great way to do it. So let's talk about navigation. Well, navigation is one of those things that, I don't know if you're like me, but when I first moved to California a long, long time ago, we had something called Thomas guides. I don't know if any of you out there remember Thomas guides, but they were all over. Or you had the big Rand McNally map book. Those were the way that you looked and you found your way, right? And then, you could go to AAA and they do the I think it was called Trip Kit or something like that. And they would actually have their map and they would draw all of that on there for you. Those were the days, weren't they? Where you had that nice secure paper in your hand, right? Well, now we've got all these apps, right? We've got GPS apps, we've got real-time directions, we've got offline maps that work with limited connectivity, which is very important. And then we have transportation apps for major cities. So those are some things I wanted to highlight today. I think most of you are fairly familiar with Google Maps or Apple Maps, depending on what you're used to. But Google Maps, and I got to catch up with my notes here, so give me a moment. Apple Maps, I want to say, is getting better. It's come a long way. So when you're considering the maps, you want to make sure that you are using something that you're comfortable with, okay? So Google offers turn-by-turn directions. They allow you to download an offline version, which I highly recommend. They they have a view, they have three different views on their map. They have the map view, they have a terrain view, and they have a live view. I have used Google Maps in cities where I had it and it had the live view. So it would tell me turn by turn where I needed to walk. This was walking. And it would show me pictures so I could say, okay, yes, that looks like the picture. I'm in the right place. I was one of those people when I was younger that I didn't need maps too often, and I would learn very quickly. I've discovered that as I got older, I am now more confused on maps. So I do appreciate Google Maps, and I do appreciate the live view because it does help me to make sure I didn't, I'm walking in the right direction, that I'm in the right place. Um, if you're going somewhere where your internet capability might be, in a lot of locations in the United States, there's not good cell service, there's not good internet. So maps.me um, has it offers detailed offline instructions for just about anywhere in the world. And you can add points of interest, you can plan your route, you can plan a walking route. That's something maps.me offers. City Mapper. I love City Mapper. I used it in Zurich, Switzerland. I've used it in London. I used it in Dublin. It's great for cities that have good public transportation system. It offers you real-time transit information, and that I really love. It'll say this bus is coming, bus number 230 is due in 3 minutes. And you know that you don't have, you're 5 minutes away, so you're going to miss that bus because you can't get there in 3 minutes. But then it tells you when the next bus is coming. So as soon as that bus, it'll say, okay, bus 230, the next bus is coming in 15 minutes. That's really handy, really, really handy. And step-by-step directions, much like Google Maps. I've noticed when I have been in these cities, particularly ones where I'm going to be using public transportation, I prefer City Mapper over Google Maps. If I'm just walking, Google Maps I use is my first choice. And City Mapper would be, again, if I was going to use public transportation. And by the way, all these little icons are the apps icon, so that if you haven't downloaded them to your phone or to your mobile devices, this is what they would look like, so you get the right one. So, and Dave has shared in the chat the PDF version of this, so you would have all of that. So, Rome to Rio. Rome to Rio has come to life in the last couple years. It allows you to say, I need to travel from point A to point B, and it will give you every option to get from point A to B, from trains, planes, automobiles, buses, and it gives you extremely good information and pricing. It'll tell you it will take this long in a car and approximately this amount. It'll take this long with the car service, approximately this amount. It'll take this long on a plane, approximately this amount. So it's working with about 240 countries, sorry, and territories right now. But I have used Rome to Rio now for the last couple of years that I've been traveling more. I've used it quite a bit and found it to be a very, very valuable tool. And by the way, everything that I've been showing so far is a free version. Some of them do have what's called freemium, which is, they want you to upgrade. Maybe you don't have, if you pay for the app, you don't have ads or something like that. Some of them have, like going back to TripIt, if you buy a premium version of TripIt, you get more functionality. So everything here has a free version, and it's entirely up to you if you feel the need that you want more or you want to spend the money. Rome to Rio, they make, I'm pretty sure that they're making their money from their ads because they don't charge you. There probably is a premium version you could buy, but I have not needed that so far. So for general navigation and exploration, these again are just the top things that I'm talked about today. They are certainly not the only things. So now let's talk about language. Language barriers. So that's something if you're traveling internationally, definitely that's something to consider, right? There has been a lot of buzz of late about translation apps. Well, of course, Google Translate. We'll talk about that in a moment. But earphones, different things, voice to text, text to speech tools, currency converters, and cultural etiquette apps. Yes, all of those things are available. We'll talk a little bit about a few things, okay? Google Translate has been the premier, right? Everybody, I'm pretty sure everyone here has probably heard of Google Translate. It takes even images now instantly. You can use it on the app, you can use it wherever, it'll speak out loud. It's pretty good. It definitely will get you by in any place where you don't have, that you don't have the ability to speak fluently. iTranslate is another app that has a user-friendly interface, and it has a lot of languages as well. Microsoft also has their translator, and it integrates, if you're a Microsoft user, use Outlook, a lot of the different Microsoft tools, the Microsoft Translator is really a good idea because it integrates with a lot of their tools. I don't know if you weren't using other Microsofts. I think as a freestanding translation tool, I probably would still fall back to my Google. But again, I wanted to make everyone aware of some of the top ones. DeepL Translator, it's known for its accuracy. So it's a little more about like a longer talking. So like if you're going to have an extended conversation with somebody, that would be something DeepL might work for. Now, there's a couple that are specialized. Wago, and also when you go online to download the Wago, there are more than one Wago. So you want to make sure that you're doing Wago for languages, because I found out there were quite a few other ones. But if you're traveling like to East Asia, it helps with Chinese, Japanese, Korean. It'll also do real time, so you can put your camera on like a menu on a wall that's written in a foreign language. You can put the camera up and it will translate it for you. I know that right now, a lot of the Asian countries, particularly like Vietnam, Thailand, those are very popular travel destinations right now. And so Wago could be your best friend if you're going there. And then TripLingo is more just about trips. So, it also provides you with some cultural tips and etiquette for your destination, which I feel is very handy. One of the things I also write a blog on my website, and I have talked about, before you go somewhere, just learning some of the basics. Another thing, as I mentioned, all of these translation apps, they're wonderful for things that you need if you need to, like, say, I would like to get directions or things like that. But as a traveler now, I highly recommend learning some basic phrases wherever you're going. Buongiorno, arrivederci, ciao, whatever it is, what, where, how. Just, you don't have to have a big vocabulary, but when you travel somewhere where they don't speak English as their primary language, they really respect that you try. And that goes a long way if you just even try to say a few words in their language. I've also noticed over the last year and a half that everywhere I've gone in the world, I have not had a problem with someone speaking English. But if you do go off the beaten path in a country, there is a chance you're going to go somewhere where they don't speak English. But major cities, pretty much, I have not had a problem really, even in just recently in Quebec, where they do speak a lot of French. Now, the one thing I did use Google Translate for was when things were just printed in French and I wanted to just confirm. I took a few years of high school French and basically I can remember how to tell you I love you, je t'aime, and that's about it. So, um, bonjour, yeah. Yeah, comment allez-vous? I can ask how are you? But if they start speaking French to me to answer, I don't know what they're saying. So that's where all these apps really come into play. Make sure that you avoid public Wi-Fi for any sensitive transactions, banking. That's where VPN can protect you. So you don't want to just connect to the Starbucks Wi-Fi. You don't even want to connect in the airport, definitely not in the airport to the Wi-Fi, without a virtual provider network being installed into your device. Um, okay, so let's see where we're at now. We are at the conclusion. So embrace technology, educate yourself, play with it before you leave home, get comfortable with whatever tools you're going to pick, whatever apps you're going to use, get your comfort level up. Nobody says you have to have all things at one time. Try one at a time. Take it slow. Um, you really just need to make sure that you've got the tools that you want and the tools you need, just like any time. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in today and watching my show, Let's Talk Tech with Debbie. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to answer your questions. I do get questions in my email and I promptly answer them, so I do appreciate that. And I want to just take a moment to say that technology is here, all the different things that are out there. I'm just here each month trying to give you a little tidbit and some information about all the fun things out there. So have a great day.